In August, we went up to Maine for about 2 weeks, locked ourselves in a cabin in the deep woods, and wrote, tracked a good majority of the record ourselves.
Being in Maine, where we recorded the first, we tracked all the drums, the bass, guitars. Doing that was just awesome. It was a fun week. We spent a lot of time, hanging out in addition to the recording.
We did a lot of outside things, outside of music, I guess to bond ourselves with each other. We went cliff diving. I've done that a few times. That's always been great.
Over time, I think even just hanging out with each other, going out to into the woods and into the waterfall to talk and flesh out the ideas and the songs, we kind of regained the confidence we needed to just do it.
I feel very relieved now. We've been working on this for practically a year, basically since Tyler joined.
All these experiences kind of go along with how the record went, because I consider this past year my life as a whole, and it's always going to remind me of this record.
The writing process was long, definitely the longest thing that we've ever done.
And at no point did we feel rushed. It was all a very, very natural process, and that's what I really liked about it.
So getting the time to track and perfect everything was probably the most stressful part of this whole entire year. Once we all get together, it's kind of like we're all like one entity, which we are because we're a band.
And we're spread out all over the place, so we try to meet up once a week to practice, go over things, record.
It's just really nice being at this point now where we're finally able to share it with everyone after how much time and effort we put into it.
We got to spend time just focusing on the music and the concepts involved in what we were writing about.
We're telling the story through their eyes as who we were referring to as the narrator. We're just kind of looking at this person's journey.
As far as a concept goes, we were really interested in writing a record that was based around a narrator and their journey to discover essentially the meaning of life.
Growing up in a religious family, I kind of had been pre-exposed to life as a construct and God and the creation of life. But at a certain age, and maybe I want to say around 12, I kind of stepped away from that.
Everyone wants to be a part of something in their life.
No matter who you are, what nationality you are, what language you speak, it's human to always consider that there's got to be something after death.
Usually it's just coping mechanisms that we use to cope with the fact that life is finite. Is something we really wanted to touch upon.
The main one that got me was the fact that as humans, we know we're going to die at some point.
I think that's why it needs to be said. The fact that so many people talk about this all the time and never get to any definitive conclusions makes it that much more intriguing to me.
We might not actually know that much. Maybe that what we're told isn't right.
You put someone up on a pedestal, you create a forever. You really focus on them more than yourself. Sometimes you can kind of lose yourself in something like that.
Almost, I feel like everybody thinks about these things at least once.
Dealing with that is hard for a lot of people, especially me. So once the guys and I started kind of discussing these ideas, it kind of made me feel a little more comfortable inside.
No one actually knows what happens, and I guess we have that to relate to each other, and that's the most important part about life, I think.
There's a segment of the record where we interviewed friends and asked them about a deep question about life. And just hearing people that typically are party animals or really happy guys get really melancholy and open and honest about what they think about this topic was really reassuring in a weird way.
I had never really talked about these things before, and hearing their ideas and their thoughts, they were all kind of similar to my own.
These songs, we can hope will outlast our time on this earth, and that it's really more than what you're creating, but what will be left when you leave.
Life's busy, and this record definitely made me realize that things are a lot more real after you grow up a little bit.
I feel like a lot of bands that write, they'll just write about whatever's happening in the moment, and every song is its own thing. But the fact that we were able to interweave a whole story, which we've played with in the past, I think pulling it off fully is just an accomplishment in and of itself.
For all of us, it's been a huge learning process along the way, and in the future, it's definitely going to help out more.
This record's really had an impact on me as far as how I thought about things before the record and how I think about these topics now.
As the person that recorded and engineered this, that it's the most effort I've probably ever put into anything.
And it's definitely changed how how I feel about the topics mentioned in the record, and how, there's a lot more going on and there's a lot to think about, really.
And just playing music all the time is just great. And it's great to just be able to call them friends.
Now that it's done, I think we've said what we've wanted to say.
We wrote this massive record that we were very proud of, with the conceptual content being something we firmly believe in.
As a band, we all created this record that we're all happy with.
It's definitely a record that has songs on it that I will be able to play for a very long time.